just so there's no electronic interruptions. And I just want to thank you so much for coming tonight and for buying the book here. Our author events are supported by our book sales, and that's what's kept us in business for 40 years, so thank you for shopping with us. We're going to be opening a second location in Camelback and 3rd Avenue in the next couple months, so keep an eye out for that. We've got a bunch of great events coming up this season. I'm just going to tell you about 2. Tomorrow at 6, we'll be hosting former Secretary of Defense Robert M. Gates for his book Duty, and this will be taking place in Old Main at ASU. The doors will be opening at 5. Then this Saturday, March 8th at 7, best-selling blogger Stephanie Pearl McPhee will be here to talk about her latest book, The Amazing Thing About the Way It Goes. So tonight we're so excited to be hosting Pierre O'Rourke. Here to introduce him is someone I'm sure you all recognize, Pat McMahon. He's been working for television for decades, and he's the face of centuries. He's the face of AZTV and hosts the McMahon Group 5 days a week, so he's a familiar face to all of you. So let's give him a round of applause.
You know, on a Monday evening, particularly a Monday evening after the Academy Awards, because many of us stayed up late, for you to show up at Changing Hands, one of the most delightful places I think anywhere, is just absolutely terrific. Excuse me, would you pay attention? I spotted you as a troublemaker. Anyway, I think it's really going to be hysterical tomorrow evening when former Secretary of Defense Robert Gates is here at this podium with all of the prestigiousness of his career. And I know that his opening line is probably going to be something like, "You think the place smells like Alpo?" Doesn't it seem a little strange for a bookstore? I'm here because I'm a friend of Changing Hands. I am here because I'm a friend of anybody who tackles the responsibility of writing a book. Just beyond me, that would be something that you could decide to do and then actually accomplish. I have gotten a chance to do so many things on radio and television, but no one has ever written a book about me. Written books about Wallace and Ladmo. They've written books about Captain Super and Gerald. They wrote a peculiar story about me in the Aunt Maud costume as the only children's show transvestite in the history of broadcasting. But I have never had a book written about me. And that was okay until somebody wrote a book about my dog. And then this particular party wrote a book about my dog because she was the best friend of his dog, who is really the star that we're celebrating tonight. Pierre O'Rourke wrote about that star and wrote it on a Post-it on the refrigerator, and it became a note to Gibbs. Pierre, come out and tell us about the rest of the story.
I know, I'm watching both. The Bassett seems okay. It's the chick I'm worried about. Okay, calm down. Well, we're going to do this first part of the intro pretty darn easy. I know, you want to play. Let me have the mic. We're going to give you Did any of you see the morning scramble when we were on? Well, we're going to open a little differently. This is his best friend, Bijou. You've met Gibbs. This is Duffy. She's dog caretaker tonight. And we're going to let her wander on off with the critters and see how I do. Here we go.
Yes, no, you can wrestle later. You can wrestle later. Hulk Hogan's on the phone for you. Oh, this is how they play. Oh, we've been in the park and people stop, jump out of their car. I'll help you break up the. No, they're not having a fight. No, they really, no, they're not having a fight. Trust me, this has been going on for almost a year. I want to thank all of you for coming out. I want to thank Patrick, of course. Most of all, I want to thank Bijou and Gibbs. We're going to have a Q&A at the end, so I don't know what you'd come up with questions about, but if you do, feel free. I am going to, so I don't drive you all nuts, I'm actually setting a little timer here, and we'll see if that works. And who has dogs here? Okay. Let me get my notes set. Oh God, that's embarrassing. Who's got dogs? All right, then can you take care of that for me? Well, that's just a gift. That's a gift from Gibbs, and here's one from Bijou. Let's see. Hopefully you like Jelly Belly. One of them had Jelly Bellies. I don't know what the other one is. Who's got a puppy? Oh, you two? Okay. You got puppies. Okay. Now the tough one. Who's ever had to say goodbye to a dog? Oh yeah. Well, yeah. I know, because there are forever friends, but their forever is a lot shorter than ours generally. This is Nubble. Many of you know about Nubble. Some of you that don't, he was with me for about 10 years, and he appeared in a couple of books. He appeared in stories. And when Nubble died, I was so humbled. I got condolences from over 2,500 people. I was just amazed. When he was gone then, there was that transition period, which some of you have gone through. I promised anybody that sent me their private address, I'd send them a thank you card from the Nupster and I. First week, sent out over 700 cards. I loved it. I was very honored. Then we got to the point where I shared his gifts, and it was a pile of toys about this big, and it was so fun. I came up with the idea to mail them to friends that I had never met, but that told me about their dogs. And I would sneak, does your dog like to chew? Oh, he likes this. And so then later I started getting pictures back of Nubble's toys in New Hampshire, in California. So it was a very interesting healing part. The other thing that was a big healing to me was Bijou. Pat and Duffy would loan me Bijou on occasion. Now Duffy, Duffy felt I needed another dog. My daughter said, "You're a better dad when you have a dog." Now, for those of you that know Duffy, she often gets what she wants. And one day, a friend of mine, Janet Jorgensen, who places dogs for a living, sent me a photo. She'd been checking with me every few weeks. I kept saying, "No, I'm not ready for a dog. I'm not ready. No, I'm not ready. And she sent me this photo of this he was 4 months at the time, 4-month-old Australian cattle herder, came from a litter of 6, didn't color correctly, and so he went to the Arizona Cattle Dog Rescue. And she sent me the photo. I printed it out. I looked at it. 2 days later, nah, not getting this thing. She thought it was perfect for me because he was foster homed, and his name was Ernest Hemingstray. She thought he had to go with an author, and plus, he still had his tail. Because to me, certain dogs need tails, and I wrote a story once about it's about Lily, who lost her tail, and she starts a 12-paw program for dogs that have lost their tails. So tails are important to me, and this dog had a tail. I still wasn't going to do it. Went out to dinner with Pat and Duffy and my wise-ass daughter, and they careful, I'll tell them about your dating life. They brought up the subject. Pat said, I saw the picture of the dog. This dog would be perfect for you. Why didn't you get it? No. Duffy, did you ask? This looks like it's going to attack. I've been watching Battlestar Galactica too much, I think. There we go. Duffy said, well, did you ask Nubble for a sign? I said, yeah, I asked Nubble for a sign. I didn't get it. My daughter says, well, he sent you a friggin' puppy. What more do you want? That weekend, I asked to borrow Duffy and Bijou because Bijou had been friends with Nubble. We headed up to Flagstaff. Crazy place to meet a dog for the first time. in the dog park up there. Especially in Flagstaff, everybody's got an Australian, and we don't know who the people are coming in. We've only seen 2 little pictures. People would come in, they'd have a couple of Australians. The dogs would, if you've ever been to the dog park, they'd swarm. We'd sit there. Bijou, how do I say it? Really doesn't care about other animals. She doesn't dislike them, but it's just like, yeah, whatever, you know, okay. And this 2 gals came in, they had 2 little puppies. Everybody swarmed. Do you want me to dance while we're here? There we go. Oh, great, that's somebody I brought that left their phone on. There we go. And I'll show you how to turn it off. Oh. So anyhow, they come in. I've got no clue yet when Bijou breaks loose, runs over, separates this little puppy out of the herd as though she's the cattle dog, brings the puppy back to Duffy, and that turned out that was Ernest Hemingstray. So we got off to a corner to see if I could kind of make a decision on this thing. See, Duffy and Bijou already knew I was getting the dog when we drove up there. And so I finally get him from Duffy, and I'm holding him. I mean, he's like 20 pounds, and he's just, you know, and I'm holding him. So I made him a deal. I said, look, if this adoption goes through, I promise you will probably hear Nubble's name a lot, but I promise I'll never compare you to him. And when I said that, he did this dog, you know. And Duffy says, well, you ready to get the dog yet? I haven't decided on the dog yet. But as you kind of gather, Duffy often gets what she wants. Then there's naming the dog. All the way up there, we're playing with names and everything. Duffy and I happen to be NCIS fans. She was rooting for Gibbs. The dog has Mark Harmon's hair, if you've ever seen and if you've seen NCIS, you've seen the Gibbs slap. So as I agree to adopt the dog, Duffy says, well, you ready with Gibbs? I said, I haven't named him Gibbs yet. And I sat him down. A big dog runs by. He got up and Gibbs slapped him. And to this day, that's how he plays, and you'll probably witness a little bit more of it. So he became Gibbs. So the first note, because I had one person wonder, why would somebody write a note to their dog? I believe in the power of 3. And I also believe, and I've been taught by some very wise people, such as a man named Og Mandino, that you bring something into yourself by thought. If you speak it, it's more a part of you. And if you write it down, it's even stronger. So once I got home and got the house puppy proofed, I took a little stickum note and I wrote, note to Gibbs. You will probably hear Nubble's name a lot, but I promise I will never compare you to him. And I stuck it on the fridge. He was finally settled down. I went into my word corner where I write, flipped on the computer. Over 200 people asking, did you get the puppy? And I remembered your note too. I appreciated it. And so I just posted that note. Something else happened the next day, posted a note. Probably the one that caught most people's attention was when I said, note to Gibbs. While I'm impressed that you've learned how to drink from a water bottle and the stream of a garden hose, when I'm standing in the restroom, that stream is off limits. By the end of the week, if I didn't post a note by 2 o'clock, people were asking, how's Gibbs? Where's our note? And it just kind of, it took off. I was, there's words overused, shocked, surprised at the response I was getting. I was having people say, hey, I'm going to ask a friend of mine to friend you because I'm tired of reading them the note to Gibbs. I want them to be able to see that on their own. My blog started jumping. The blog started getting so busy that Edward had to start another blog for me for my personal stuff and one for note to Gibbs. And coming into 4 months, we were getting a lot of requests for a book. I could not figure out how to do a book. I mean, the dog wasn't even a year old. I'm like, how do I do a book about this dog at this point? Well, there's this man called Pat McMahon and this lady named Duffy McMahon that have the Idea Factory, and they're just always kicking out ideas, and they came up with the idea. You're going to put a note here, we're going to find a cartoonist, we're going to put a cartoon here, boop, 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 boop. Suddenly I could see it. Suddenly I could see it. We found a local artist, Drew Aquilina, and he wanted to take a shot at it, and those are Drew's drawings you'll see in there. Let's see where we're at also. The Bijou bonding. This has been something just so precious. If these dogs don't see each other every 2 days, Bijou goes into a severe depression. Yeah, well, you haven't seen severe depression until you've been around a little French Bijou. Gibbs, on the other hand, this was calm a minute ago. He's all over the place. The coffee table, well, we'll mention a couple of those notes real quick. Not all the notes were lovey, kissy face. And I've been pretty lucky on lack of destruction with a new puppy. Fairly lucky. Except going into the second month where he got out of my view for about 2 minutes. Came out, lay down. I said, hey, let me get my tissues. We're going to go out for a run. Walked into the bedroom. Now, because I've been accused of exaggerating, I measured it once I calmed down. In my king-size bed, dead center, 3-foot diameter hole all the way to the frame. And we're not talking funneled. I mean, this was like one spring sticking up, foam all over the place. I, of course, calmly said, gee, what happened? You know, and he comes galloping in like, and I'm in training a puppy. If you don't catch him within a minute, yeah, there's nothing to do. So I was just like, and that was when I started to apply something that Mom used with me. I said, you're not a bad dog. You did a bad thing. So there are notes at going into 4 months when the publisher was talking about doing a second book. I'm thinking, oh, okay, I think I've got another 50 notes. Okay. Well, my research friend back east calls me and says, are you aware you have over 700 notes? Now we haven't hit a year and we have over 3,000 notes. So one of the other notes, for example, that a local audience can appreciate is note to Gibbs. This was after the mattress deal. Note to Gibbs. No, we are not keeping Debbie Gaby and Sleep America on speed dial. Somebody asked why, well, I bounced away from the Bijou bonding. These two also, Bijou is protective of Gibbs, decides who pets him very often. When they go down to Shampooch, and I just mentioned Shampooch Salon, so we have a free one coming. Anyhow. Gibbs does not like water, does not like baths. He's totally opposite compared to this little fellow. Bijou loves to be groomed. Bijou figured out on her own. Wash me first because I take the longest. Then I'll climb in the tub and sit next to Gibbs. Gibbs sits there perfectly calm and they scrub him down. Fantastic bonding between them. Some of the other books that we're talking about doing right now that we're looking at, probably the next one's going to be Note to Gibbs, Gibbs and Friends. So far he hasn't made a critter he doesn't like. We've had some challenges with him wanting to bring home a kitty cat. We've had challenge with him thinking that Edward and Valerie's little dog Lily is a squeak toy. And probably the one that scared us the most was for about 3 weeks he was having a chat with Simone, the kitty cat, on the second floor. And it was, very sweet, took pictures of them and everything, planned to get them together to meet, finally nosed everything. Well, Simone thought we were waiting too long and jumped down to visit. Luckily not hurt, and now every time I go out for a walk, Gibbs goes up the stairs to make sure that the kitty's out on the balcony. So one of the other ones is going to be probably Note to Gibbs, you're not a bad dog, you did a bad thing, because some of the notes we started getting messages about were people back east saying, you know what, I'm going to apply this to my dog. I'm going to apply this to my kid. We started getting messages about, you know what, at dinner time or at breakfast time, we get together and read Notes to Gibbs. And I was like so touched, especially coming from a family that was two people, that I was, through this little puppy, bringing families together to sit at a table and read these. But what I'm going to share with is one of the notes I got, and in 2 cases so far, somebody contacted us and said, could you send a book to my friend whose dog just died? And I was so touched by that, and I wrote back, I said, are you sure you want, yes, please do this, please do this. And so I'm going to read a note from one of them. This is from Tim in Indiana. And this not only sums up why we're going to have more Note to Gibbs books, but it's why I write books, period. My dog died. You know this because a friend bought one of your books and had you sign it to me. Your inscription was simple yet sustained me, but your book, the messages and energy that came with and between the notes. I hurt, and I hurt bad, but I now understand that I can get another fur friend. And it doesn't mean I don't love him, doesn't mean I don't miss him, or that I forgot my last dog. You taught me by showing me in notes and cartoons that it's okay to love again. I'm scared, but I have Note to Gibbs reminding me, hey, it's okay. We are going to set out a pad for anybody that wants to give your emails or get on a list for my blogs or any of that stuff. And I know that because Valerie is now madly scampering, realizing, oops, we forgot to put that pad out. Then the dogs and I are going to sign the books. Yeah, the dogs sign the books, so we'll be over here. They look better in a picture than me, so they will be available also. We have some gifts that, while you are waiting, Patrick's going to help give out. We've got a gift certificate for rehab burger therapy. Yeah, I thought you'd like, yeah, that's his hangout. They're actually working on a Gibbs burger. I'm guessing it's going to be nothing but bacon. And without the Alpo on the side. And if bacon does to you what it does to Gibbs, you won't have to fill up the car with gas that day. We also have some Note to Gibbs hats. We've got some magnets. We've got some little sticky Note to Gibbs pads that we're going to give to each one of you. Because as Pat says, why whisper to your dog when you can leave it a note? I want to thank you all. I don't know if any of you have ever been aware of being a part of history. Now, this is my history, so it probably won't excite you as much, but this is the first group that for one of my books I've gotten to speak to. And while I probably won't remember each of you individually, collectively, you guys just make a beautiful tapestry for me to remember. And I really thank you for that. I was taught by someone, when there's a crowd, how to give a hug. And so I offer that to you all. And where's Aaron? And now one for a special lady that couldn't be with us tonight. My mom thanks you, my dog thanks you, and I most certainly thank you. Here you go.